So the Vivo X90 Pro. Let's talk about how it holds up, but mainly focus on the camera. If you want a full long-term review on it, of course I will leave a link in the description where you can check that one out. It's on my main channel where this is purely based on the camera and the performance itself. Talking about my experience using it so far, having that for long-term use and seeing how it holds up compared to some other phones that I've had as well. Talking about, of course, the beautiful 1-inch sensor, but also the sensors next to it, because there is some discussion to be had when it comes to it. Either way, let's dive into this long-term camera use review kind of thing when it comes to the Vivo X90 Pro. Now, when it comes to the Vivo X90 Pro, there's no denying that there's one sensor that is clearly the sensor that you want to use. It's the main sensor, the 1-inch sensor. And I gotta admit, when it comes to the camera capabilities, especially that 1-inch sensor, the Vivo X90 Pro holds up really well. There are some excellent situations where it really performs probably one of the best, if not the best. Low light, if you want a lot of details in your shot and not necessarily the best low light representation, with it of course sometimes being quite bright, I would say that Vivo does that probably one of the best, if not the best. And that 1-inch sensor only helps getting more light in. A 1.8 aperture compared to, for instance, the Xiaomi 13 with a 1.9, it definitely helps getting more light in. And they just have something about their dynamic range that is kind of crazy. So when it comes to low light, for instance, definitely this phone still holds up really well and one of the best out there. Again, if not the best. Anyway, let's dive more into the camera performance of it. So before we start talking about results, let's quickly look at the sensors themselves and of course a little bit of the specifications for the phone. Of course, all of these lenses have their size T coding lens on there, which is something that I really enjoy. Having these collaborations between well-known camera companies is something that is amazing to see. So having a collaboration here with Zeiss and Vivo, again, it's something that I enjoy. It's something that I love, especially because I do love Zeiss optics. Either way, when it comes to their setup, we have a 50.3 megapixel main sensor with a 1.8 aperture, 23mm, which is a wide lens of course, and a 1-inch sensor. We get a telephoto which is 50 megapixels with a 1.6 aperture and a 1/2 4-inch sensor size. And then we have a 12 megapixel sensor with an f2.0 aperture and 108mm. We have a 50mm telephoto with 50 megapixels and a 1.6 aperture and a sensor size of 1/2.4 inches. When it comes to the ultra wide, we have a 12 megapixel sensor with a 2.0 f-stop and it's 16mm. Video recording max is 8K and of course you can record your 1080p and 4K at 30 and 60 frames per second. For the front camera, for those who care, 32 megapixels, f2.5 aperture and a 1/2 8-inch sensor size and max recording at 1080p and 60 frames per second. So let's talk about the performance while I showcase different situations when it comes to this Vivo X90 Pro and the camera performance. Straight away, as I stated many times before, this is a camera that I enjoy using. This phone takes amazing shots, and overall when it comes to the possibilities to play around for me, which is important for me, it does well. I have my effects, I have my styles, and especially of course that vintage look is something that I actually use quite a bit. It looks really nice, especially if you want to use it for portraits or older buildings as well. Here I think it's an excellent phone with excellent capabilities. Again, it depends on what your style is. When it comes to Vivo, they of course have a certain style. They're a little bit brighter and they don't necessarily reflect what you would get from, for instance, a mirrorless camera with a bit more close to real life. But when it comes to the style itself and mobile photography, it does it really well. The images are bright, it has plenty of details, especially with the 1-inch sensor, and of course having that 50 megapixel sensor next to it when it comes to the telephoto, it performs well there as well. If I would say something where it performs a little bit less compared to of course those other two, it's of course the ultra wide. It's a smaller sensor but also of course less megapixels, and combined with all of that means of course less details, and it doesn't necessarily compete with those other two sensors in this, especially with the 1-inch sensor. But overall you will still get good results even with the ultra wide, even if it is lower compared to those other two sensors. Either way, let me just be quiet for a moment and just show shots that I've taken when it comes to this Vivo X90 Pro, and I'll come back to you in a bit. So at the end, would I easily recommend a phone like this if camera is your focus? Yes. The camera focus on this phone is excellent. It really does deliver. But when it comes to, of course, the main sensor, the filters that you have on it, the styles that you have on it, the Vivo X90 Pro does an excellent job, and the camera is something that I still adore and love to use. So the Vivo X90 Pro definitely gets a pass for me when it comes to just having it as camera. When it comes to the Vivo X90 Pro, I really like using it as camera, and I really like the results that you get from it. But as always, it's of course a style and a choice that fits me. I want to know if it fits you as well. Let me know in the comments below, and of course let me know what you thought of the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe and so on. And of course, talk to you guys in the next